Okay. Patrick, you can do roll call.
Sure thing. Aleppo. Here. Avalon. Bell Acres.
Here,
Bellevue.
sorry, here.
Here. And Adam. Here. Edward.
Here.
Great. Hemsworth. Glen Osborne.
Here,
Glenfield. Hayesville. Kilbuck. Wheat. Wheatsdale. Swiftly. Swiftly Heights. Here. That's four.
right. Okay. Oh, looks like we have more coming on. Great. So since we do. Any public comment or guests, do you want, should they come from?
They have an agenda.
They have an agenda, okay. Okay, let's move on to the approval of the August 17th meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Second. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye, or if you're online, raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on, approval of the financial reports, the unpaid bills and the payroll summary. Do you want to put that up there? So,
So the only thing as far as bills payable, it's gonna be a little out of the ordinary, is we got a check return from Glenfield Borough for their 2020 Act 101 recycling grant. Getting cash within 90 days, so it gets kicked back to us, so we have to reissue another check. I've done, sent a few emails and voicemails to see if I can get someone to be aware that the next round will be out. So hopefully that gets taken care of in the next few weeks and
right,
put that behind us. Other than that, financials still look very good. We're still missing a big chunk of our Allegheny County administrative funds for CD year 47. So that's going to be in excess of $40,000 that goes directly to the general fund. So as soon as we get that, we'll be positive. But all in all, I think we're in really good shape with the capital fund and general fund. And yeah. that's all I have.
right. Any discussion? Well, first, I'll take a motion to approve the financial reports, the unpaid bills and the payroll summary. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify, oh, we have to, by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the president's report. Mine's going to be short and sweet, and I'm going to bring up something that maybe is a burr and many communities' sides, which is waste management. What I am seeing is that individual communities are having to discuss with waste management. And Patrick, you've done how many now? I don't know how many.
Between January and this year, January right now, probably 4 individual meetings with 4 individual municipalities.
And has it been about the same topic about missing roads and not picking up and not letting the municipalities know?
Problems have been consistent for sure.
I don't know what the solution to this is, but I'm wondering if, and I'm open to discussion about maybe instead of going by individual communities, get together as a group and talk about, because the problems seem to be the same and they seem to be consistent. Or maybe even inviting waste management to come to the next COG meeting, so that we can sit down as a group and discuss issues that we all have.
Certainly invited to do that.
Obviously, I'm not involved in this, but I
Yeah.
hear the discussion. Have the problems gotten worse since the contract? I'm just curious, like have any of your municipalities had similar problems?
I really can't contest that because I was hired right when the contract.
That might be something to look into, not to say that any little bit is better, but is it the same and it's just a new contract, or are they like progressively getting worse?
Yeah, I never want to be in the spot to defend, a multi-billion-dollar corporation about
Yeah.
anything, but I can say, just like everybody else, they're facing a lot of hiring issues. A lot of drivers quit, and they're having a really hard time finding replacements, and that's led to, a lot of our communities, they've had the same driver. This is a story I've been told 1,000 times. We've had the same driver for
Yeah.
20 or 30 years. They knew that Mrs. Jones put a garbage can on a certain angle behind a shadow and a post. They knew exactly what to do. And they came at the same time every day, every single time. Now, new drivers, route times are all over the place. I'm not gonna blame the residents, but I think there's a little bit of blame to shuffle that way as far as maybe they're not putting the cans out on time. But there is times where they're just missing streets, just swaths of streets. And that's not
Yeah.
good.
And we've had them where they haven't picked up for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Some signs.
And the key is for this contract mechanism that we have in place now to work as far as, we can levy a fine and, is a $5 fine for this garbage to fix things and make the person happy? No, but it's something, but we need to be aware of it. And if we're not aware of the service issues, there's nothing we can do. So anytime that you guys, managers or elected officials, waste management about this, please include us on that. That way we can document it. They have 24 hours basically from the time they're notified to pick up that trash or recycling. So, for the most part, whenever they've been notified, it seems like it's almost 100% success rate that they are picking it up. To my knowledge, but
For a while.
they need to, we need to be aware of it or else we really can't help.
I would say maybe, in my opinion, communication is a huge factor.
Absolutely.
Getting, I know in Glen Osborne, since we as a municipality pay for garbage pickup. If they're not there, I know the borough secretary, Diane, I'm like that 20 to 30 calls. And I'm constantly talking, there's no communication between waste management that is consistent, the borough and our citizens. It gets a little tricky too, in that we don't have in Glen Osborne, although we pay for it, I don't have a group of numbers and emails that I can send out of the email blast. We use Facebook and the webpage. Hardly anybody looks at the webpage anymore. But Facebook seems to be somewhat effective, but I would say it's a huge issue.
Maybe ask if we, well, I guess in your municipality, you have the account. And then, okay, because I was thinking we could ask for this management to send notices to their customers, but in your case, it's not individual households. So they wouldn't have them.
Right.
Yeah,
Really big issue that seems to be popping up too. Again, every town has its unique kind of circumstance, but
They do.
a lot of residents call the 1-800 number, and that's fine, sometimes, but we're not aware of them, and the borough or township's not aware of it, so
So that's not the mechanism that it will work with the contract.
No.
they're calling somebody at a call center in Houston, Texas or something.
Yeah.
Maybe they get to the message, maybe they don't, but whenever a resident calls the borough or township, they're frustrated because I've called voice management customer service for the last 3 weeks. Well, I'm not aware of that, and probably the person there, a lot of the phones not aware of that either. So,
And the municipality isn't aware of it.
Yeah.
either.
so
Right,
it's a big.
To contact every resident, maybe.
right,
An app with a little cards and cannot,
Exactly.
do not call with,
yeah,
do not call.
yeah.
Call
Email
our
the borough.
Or if any of the good websites have a little contact thing in there. I mean, it's the only way it's gonna work if that's the contract.
Right,
Otherwise,
we have to notify every resident, I agree.
Yeah.
We need to do like a mailing.
So the double-edged sword of that is smaller staffs. All of a sudden now, like Diane, Glen
Yeah.
30 people are calling her. No, it's kind of the devil we created, right? We have to.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
we didn't have, who was the other, do you remember the other company that bid on our contract?
No one problem.
No, yeah, and it was like, there was not even a contest there.
Oh, it's like.
So we have another option.
And it,
Yeah,
it's never, a comfort, but, we had an increase of like 10% right now. If we were bidding our contracts, and North Hills cog is 3 times as much.
right.
Why?
Gas.
Oh,
Yeah.
because of the timing of it.
Gas
Wow.
prices, labor issues,
Yeah,
You know, we got lucky when our time
we still had a big increase too.
10% or so. But, let's,
So what's been the response? So I know, you know, we have one incident here in Bed Adams, in a situation where we contacted the person that was handling the issue, came here. And they dealt with it. So is it the issue that we're having the same problem over and over again and our contact that was made has no answer? And in fact, that streets are missed and we're just not aware that that's happened. Maybe one problem was fixed and we haven't run into it again. Definitely different streets are on different trucks and different times of day. There's no doubt about that. We haven't had anything to skip. So is that you don't know that that's happening?
Sometimes we don't. I mean, I do walk the municipality to make sure some of our side roads are picked up. Sometimes they'll miss one road and pick up the other road, so it's,
Did they ever give an explanation?
tradi- their explanation is, and I understand a lot of this, is that the trucks broke down. The, new driver, the driver that was going to pick up, never showed up for work. I mean, I'm sure people get this, you know, all the time. Again, I'm going to go back to communication. I certainly do understand that. If they could communicate that to me, so that I can communicate it to my residents, that's where, and they get frustrated and they get very upset. And now Diane and I end up getting those calls and listening, which, you know, is fine. But it gets better for a while, I should say, and then something happens.
That's what happens in Swiftly, and it's like, the complaint we keep getting is a backup siren before 6 a.m. And it just keeps happening, it's the same household, is like complaining over and over. And then he says it will get better for a while, and then it will let happen again.
Right.
And it's probably where they're situated too, where that truck needs to back up, you know, it's like,
Right, and we don't, now, we're an old community, so we have narrow roads, roads that dead end. And I understand that, to me, it's communication. If I can communicate that they will be coming, maybe not today, but tomorrow. Because we get calls that they're not there by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they're used to picking up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But if you let people know, they're a little more understanding of
I
situations.
just think that there would be somebody assigned to like, I don't know the structure of the administrative team of waste management, but I think there would be somebody assigned to geographical regions. They would call you and tell you, or even if they just called you, you know, you're just one.
Well, I do know on some, for instance, my son lives over in Newton, waste management also, but a different group. For whatever reason, but if they're going to be late by even 2 hours, they get a robot call. But they individually call. So they're a little more, you know, they can't pick up garbage today, you will get a phone call or text.
I think in Swiftly, I heard my neighbor say that she got an email that they were coming a day or something. So when you're, so
If you
maybe
register with them, then you can
maybe it, like, it's much better service if the individuals are paying their own bill. Because then they have a record of those individuals and they can contact individuals, because I do think that the ones that they are getting emailed or somehow notified of waste management.
I think some of them are. I do know somebody that he said 4 weeks since his garbage wasn't picked up.
Like consecutive.
But, because
Did you call everybody?
yes, he has a record of a long list,
So have they been fined for something like that?
so
because we don't know.
we don't know when the guy's garbage isn't picked up for 3 weeks, means calling the call center. We're not aware.
Oh, so even if he tells us 4 weeks later, he has to tell us the day that it didn't happen?
We have to, so the way the language is written, basically, we get notified in the CC, whatever, let's say Glen Osborne has a missed, right? We get email saying 12 Johnson Lane dismissed. Once that is emailed to them, they have 24 hours to pick it up. Like Rick said, usually their team's pretty good. they'll send out a supervisor, gets picked up usually. And then that's what we're notified of. So if they don't pick it up 24 hours, they need to be notified and say, hey, 12 Johnson Lane wasn't picked up, then we can find. But there's that void, there's that communication void for us. And I don't want to be chasing around finding people $5. That doesn't fix the issue.
No,
But
that's like, they built that into their cost of doing business. They don't care if they get that full amount, whatever they set aside.
and I'm not gonna lie, every week, probably 3 hours a week is devoted just being the garbage police. I don't
Wow.
like being the garbage police,
Maybe we
but
should do a zero waste initiative.
but
We're not gonna create any more waste. We will eliminate our need for waste management.
Now, and I think, again, I blame it more on communication and being able to communicate with others.
I mean, in the end, the onus is on each resident
Yeah,
to report it, part of the contract. So that's where you have to solve. Waste management, you're not gonna solve it with
now,
if they turn it over and drive every week. It'll just never. Think about the supervisors, it's probably similar.
yeah, I mean, I think, I'd be happy to invite them, and they've been very, very good about coming to these meetings whenever we
They
set them
have.
up.
they absolutely have.
You'll probably hear a lot of the same thing we talked about, but I think it's good to put a name to the face and just say, if you have questions. I'm not the best person to answer them, but they certainly are. I don't want to be the one to defend them. Most often, I feel like I turn into that, because I'm kind of regurgitating those same answers, but I don't want to do that. I want them to, so.
Okay, I'm done with my report.
All right, so
Route
next.
65 update.
So we'll start with the CDBG update. So last week was a big deadline for submitting the next year of grants through Allegheny County Economic Development. So just wanted to highlight, we had 9 applications. So Bellevue is looking to have a demolition project, two houses in that project. The Edgewood Municipal Authority applied for a pretty large grant for a water line replacement along Big Swift Creek Road in Lee Township. Hayesville Borough also applied for a South Avenue stormwater project. So a pretty big road rehabilitation to get rid of some flooding. Lee Township also applied for continuation of an ADA sidewalk program in their Fair Oaks neighborhood. Leesdale applied for 2. One's going to be an ADA parking pad project on both sides of the municipal building. And the other one is a demolition project for 2 houses there. Sewickley Borough applied for another ADA sidewalk ramp replacement project, and then the Sewickley Borough Water Authority applied for a water line replacement project, and that is mostly in Hayesville, but I think it trickles into a few houses in Lemonsport as well. So a lot of grants there. Really happy to see that. So thank you to everyone's team for working with me to get those applications in. We're starting to wind down a lot of these older projects. A couple of them are still lingering, but probably the next couple of months, these will all disappear. And then we'll start with CD year 48, which is still under creation for the contract from the county's point of view. And then hop into 49 sooner rather than later. So that's CDBG report.
Thank you.
So the executive director's report. So we already went through the CDBG process. So the 2022 annual dinner, I wanted to highlight that for everybody. It's going to be 2 weeks from yesterday. So October 5th, Wednesday. Happy hour kind of cocktail hour starts at 6 p.m. and the dinner starts at 7. So really excited to get that underway. We've been receiving a lot of generous support for sponsorships. So now really the crunch time is getting people to show up at dinner. So please, for your councils, for your residents, anyone that's interested, please holler at the event. They can register on our website, just fill out the form. The checks can be mailed at a later time. They don't need to be received by the time of the dinner if your meetings don't line up that way. But I think it's gonna be a great event at the Edgeworth Club. Everyone seemed to really enjoy it last year. Kind of a different vibe. So Marie Maloney from the Pittsburgh Technology Council will be our keynote speaker. Is just gonna be highlighting a lot of the trends and what's drawing people to Pittsburgh. For the first time since 1950, people moved or didn't leave Allegheny County. So it's not obviously universal. There's some sections where people left, but that's a pretty big data point to look at. And I think she's gonna be highlighting a lot of the reasons why, a lot of new talent and people staying, so excited for that. Kind of a two-part, in addition to that, so we received 2 nominations for our community service recognition. So Mr. Paul Getz from Emsworth Borough nominated their borough secretary Kathy Jones. She's been celebrating 30 years with Emsworth Borough, and I can attest she's the face of that town. You know, she's the first person and the first voice that everyone sees and hears. So I think that's a great nomination. And if John's on the call, I believe Edgeworth also had a nomination for Mr. Fred Gregorich, who is Public Works Supervisor for the borough. John, did you want to talk a little bit about Fred and his work with Edgeworth and Lee or Aleppo? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, we had our council meeting last night, and the council president, one of the council members, saw the call for QV Cog Citizens of Honor, and Fred has been a 20-plus year employee with Edgeworth, Public Works Director, and the Building Code official. Prior to that, Fred served as the Aleppo Township Building Code official. He lives in Aleppo, and he's also on their planning commission. So he's working for multiple towns, just only getting paid for one. But Fred's a great asset to us. Without him and his leadership, his fiscal responsibility, and his general care for the community, we wouldn't be where we are today. Quick to work with the neighbors on any type of issue we have, loaning equipment out, and also receiving equipment if we need it. But Fred's a great guy. He'd be a great person for this honor.
And I think they're both great, and I'd love to have a nomination for both if we could do that. We'll have a little certificate for them, highlight them at the event.
Okay, do we need, would anybody like to make a nomination for one or both? I know both of them.
They nominate both.
If I can, I would second it because the people one.
I'll second it.
Great.
Great. Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, there we go.
Great, thank you, everybody, for that. And thank you, John, for highlighting Fred's service. So to continue, so Allegheny County Controller Corey O'Connor is looking to put on a little educational forum for the property reassessment. As many people may be aware, counties being sued for basically tagging along with a lot of school districts. This actually affected me too, so I think it's gonna be interesting, of course. So new homeowners are being tagged with reassessments like every single time they buy a new house. County's been tagging along with that, and it looks like they're gonna have to reduce the evaluation rate down to 63% from 81%. So it's gonna be a pretty big impact for a lot of municipalities and school districts that have not been maybe raising taxes too low as they should have been, just relying on new people moving in. So so October 3rd, he's been putting on a course at the Northland Public Library. So please, advertise that to websites and social media below. There's a flyer on our website if you guys want to take that too. But he reached out to us and just wanted us to promote that event. Get as many people as we can for that. And certainly in person. Yeah, let me see. So I don't know the answer. Okay.
That's fine.
I don't know if they're gonna have like an hour or something that sort of allows people to participate virtually. But the last thing I have for you guys in the report, so this Friday is the deadline for the Gaming Economic Development and Tourism Fund grant. Much like the CDBG applications, we've got quite a few, so we have 8 total applications. We'll get in a little bit further detail later on the agenda.
And that's the end of your report. Thank you. We're on to new business. We do have a presentation.
Yeah, so Boyd, if you want to take it away. The presentation.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Boyd Jones. I'm the business support manager over at Michael Brothers Hauling and Recycling.
I'm Bob Madison, our facility manager, reserve time.
So we're here tonight. We've been speaking with Patrick. We've been working with you guys as well on the glass recycling
Yes.
in Avalon and Swiftly. I'll give you a quick update on it as well. So since March, we've recycled 42 ton of glass between both the locations, averaging around 3.5 to 4 ton of glass on each turn. So thank you so much. Your commitment, obviously, to recycling glass here. It's great. A lot of other municipalities are watching this and they're going to be following suit. So very excited about everything going so far, especially since we've only started in March. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, thank you.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
That I got from a resident the other day. Do you, I know everything's mixed, so the three colors are not getting separated. Is that right?
No, they actually are. So
Okay,
what's really cool about it is the glass that we bring back. It comes back to either our South Hills yard or it goes to Superior Mulch over in McKees Rocks. From there, it goes to the Cap Glass facility, which is
Right.
out in Palmersville, Mount Pleasant area.
Mhm.
They have, and I can send it over to Patrick, because our owner was on a video with them. They have this multi-million-dollar machine that separates, it has like these optical sensors.
okay,
It separates the different colors of glass.
okay,
And they have these massive piles outside of their building with the brown, green, and clear glass. So everything does get separated, and then from there, the endpoint is OI glass, which is either in Zanesville or Brockway. There's two different ones around here. The main hub, I believe, is Zanesville, Ohio. And then from there, it gets turned into Ballston.
okay.
So I think at the end of October, I believe I'm going to take a tour of OI glass. So
Oh, cool.
it should be very interesting, but yeah, everything is separated out and it's able, even the blue glass as well.
The resident that I spoke with was really skeptical that anything was actually being done with that. I was like, I'm pretty sure it is, but I haven't actually been to Cap Glass.
Yeah,
I
So
don't
I'll
know.
send you the video. It's on our link tree, but I'll just send you the video. It's on YouTube. We did a video with them as well, just to
Okay,
kind of
great.
show, because we're all skeptics as well. We completely understand.
Yeah.
You're like, are you actually recycling or is it going in the mall? Like, what's
Right,
actually,
right.
yeah.
Right.
No, it's definitely going the right way. And, but yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
We're
you.
really excited about it. So that brings us here tonight. We've been speaking with Patrick, about at our Reserve Township facility, starting up this composting pilot program, with your call. Since we're so close in Reserve Township, we feel like this would be a really good opportunity to start a program like this. So Bob, you can kind of explain what we would be accepting, and how it would kind of work logistically on site, I guess.
Realistically, what we end up doing with material.
Yeah.
So everything that would come to us, we have a list of grass, leaves, brush, wood chips, and then smaller logs. We can process that all on site. We can either send part of it to our manufacturer, Superior Mulch, who actually does mulching for us, so they can manufacture it. What we don't send out, which chances are would be 99% of it, is we can actually manufacture compost on site. I came from a company that's all we did was manufacture compost. And so once I started with Michael Brothers, we have a lot of green waste that comes in. And this is one way for us to utilize it and make a product out of it. So we make compost, and then we also take that compost and we put it in with topsoil. So now you actually get a product that is universal. It has all the nutrients and that you need for growing a good garden or a raised bed, because you have the stability of the topsoil. So by combining the two, we create a better product for that, but we also are able to recycle everything else. So it is a process, but it is one way to recycle instead of throwing your leaves in a garbage bag and giving them the waste management.
If they show up.
Right,
If they show up.
Yeah.
and then do you sell the product?
We do sell a product. We have it tested. It is sold for resale. We have a large quantity of landscapers that use it. So the likelihood it eventually goes in everybody else's yard at some point. We do have residents that come and get it. The fact that we tested through Penn State gives it a little bit of more, like, oh, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
It's not the stuff that you're gonna buy from the Depot in the bag. That it's
So
more of a higher
residents
quality.
can go get,
Correct. As of right now, we're not bagging it
Mhm.
to that point, but we are working on that, coming up with ideas down the road. We're not to that point yet.
Right.
Like I said, I just started there 3 years ago. We do have a lot of other things that we have going on there. This is something because we're trying to move to zero waste on everything. That this is one way we can do a lot for it.
Mhm.
We're actually recycling concrete and stuff now. So we bought a new machine. We can crush up concrete, use it for land. Using it for landscaping, use it cheaper. Plumbers will use it. But it's just another thing that gets recycled. Where a lot of times people don't fill over the hill and that's where it stays. For us, it doesn't.
Nice.
So it's a couple things that we're trying to do. And, having municipalities, then I grew up in Bellevue, lived in Avalon, hung out in Bedford. So I'm familiar with the area. I understand the further you get down, the harder it gets to reserve. But, that said, if you don't have a place to go, your townships, they might want to get rid of their leaves. So if you have the municipalities, the borough trucks, they load them up, bring it to us, and we can pretty much take care of it. Everyone, the way it would have to operate for us, so everybody would have to come across the scale. And then everybody would have to leave going across the scale. That way we can track what comes in, what goes out, and where it's coming from.
And a really neat tool about that, so we're gonna provide Michael Brothers with the GIS map that we have for our zone map that we distributed out to our towns. So that way the resident can give them their address and Michael Brothers can verify that they're in a QB cog member community.
Mhm.
That way they can track how much exactly that our communities are generating and helps them, plan and helps us plan as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just couple of simple clicks for our scale master. Whenever they come in, they'll be able to cross-reference, or if it's a municipal truck coming in, you can see right on the side of it.
Right.
So yeah, we're inviting you guys to, start off with something like this. It would be $350 a month. As of right now, your glass boxes are less than that. So with something like this, I mean, if it's coming down to like a fee type thing, we just basically wanted to start it out with the 350, because you're doing like one turn. For the glass boxes, if you're thinking of it like that, it's just basically a little bit more than another glass box. But what we're asking is, our normal business hours from Tuesday to Saturday, people coming in, so Tuesday to Friday, we're open 7 to 5 or 7 to 4:30. And then Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12:30. The residents would come across the scale, make sure that their address is verified, and then they would be directed by the people on site to go dump whatever they bring in.
Mhm.
And then from there, they go across the scale again. And then they'll get a ticket, we'll have the ticket as well. And just like we do with the glass recycling, I'll provide the monthly reports. I could send them over to Patrick. For something like this, so that way everything is taken care of on that end.
And just to kind of fill in some of the gaps too. So I'm proposing, just like we did with the glass recycling program. So we're getting it off the ground using our recycling fund that we've been able to build up a pretty substantial amount over the last few years, with $27,000 for shared recycling projects. So that will clock in around $2,100 if we were to pay for this for 6 months. And then just like Boyd said, take a look at it as a group, obviously, before that 6-month deadline. Just figure out, is this something that our communities are using? Is it something our residents are using, because it's going to be open to public works and residents. And if it's something we want to build a little bit of a cost sharing model like we do with our glass to keep it sustained moving forward, 5, 10, 20 years from now. As Boyd highlighted, no commercial trucks are allowed. So, Mrs. Jones gets her landscapers to come out here. Landscapers can't drop off that stuff because they're not probably passing on the savings to Mrs. Jones. So that's not fair to Michael Brothers, who's a commercial vendor. It's not fair to residents. This is something I think it's something we can build upon what we've already done, and see where it takes us in the future. Whether it's maybe a drop-off center somewhere in the QB car, but that's the one thing I'd highlight, as I'm sure everyone realizes, it's not equally distant. You know, some communities are a little farther than others. But I think the data we can gather during the 6-month evaluation period is gonna help us quite a bit in figuring out if this is something that we can do in our region. Kind of like we built for Glass, where we have 2 locations that are about equally distant.
Patrick, this is Roberta in Avalon. I have a question for the Michael Brothers gentleman, if I could. At the beginning of your talk, you were telling us how much glass we had recycled, and I missed it. I wanted to write it down. Could you go over that again, please, for us? Because we have one of them.
Yes,
Thank
and I'll send over the report because I just pulled it today with the updated statistics. For both locations, it's 42 ton of glass between both locations.
Since when? What was it?
March was the
March.
first one. Hold on if you give me 1 second, I'll pull up because I just pulled it and I probably should have written it down. Sorry about that. So for Avalon. Okay. So for Sewickley, sorry, Sewickley, out of the 42 tons, Sewickley has had 31.45 ton. And then Avalon has had 10.55 ton. Now, we didn't start the Avalon one until July, so it's catching up though, which has been great. But these numbers in comparison with the other glass recycling locations that we have for other municipalities around Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
they're right on par. And it's been really great to see. The averages are right there. We had a couple things go on with the one box on our end, which made the tonnage go down on the one, but everything else has been on par with the tonnages. Contamination levels have been minimal. So we don't hear anything from your glass boxes that there's any contamination. I watch them all the time on cameras. Because I can watch them remotely from my desktop, get pictures on it about 10 times a day, and I never really see any contamination on there. So
And I haven't heard any complaints about the Swiftland station.
great. That's what we were worried about down there too.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like noise and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm really glad that that's working out well there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big.
Patrick, I'd like to comment on the composting if we can.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
First of all, Michael Brothers, guys.
Josh,
That
break it
being
up.
said, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, if I start to break up, just yell at me. I'm driving in the car on the cell phone. With this thing here, Patrick, I just have a feeling that Reserve is a little too far away for us to go to, especially our friends maybe in Bell Acres and Leet and Leetsdale, and obviously this side of 79. That's a long round trip. And, you know, folks who go down there might tend to get lost if it's from public works departments also. I also don't think a majority of residents would pick, at least from Edgeworth, probably Sewickley and a few of the others, to load leaf bags into their cars and drive them there. So if we had a place a little bit closer, I'd be in favor of trying this. I think the Reserve site is too far away for Quaker Valley COG.
Yeah, I can piggyback on that. I agree. I'm from Sewickley. I do not think our Sewickley residents will drive over there. Our public works guys take the leaves stuff that they collect over to War Memorial Park and they have a chopper and chop it up and put it there. So I don't think that our public works will do it. But I wonder what you think about working with Kyle Winkler from Kyle Winkler, which is like the zero. Yeah, and he has been doing this program in our area to pick up food waste. And he did comment to us earlier last year that he would see all of the yard debris that was sitting out for waste management and his heart would sink. He would think, if I could just take that, I would be having more impact than taking his food scraps. And so he said that at the time that he was interested in figuring out something like that. I do think that there are a lot of people in Sewickley that would be willing to pay for that service if it were like similar to the food scrap pickup. And if he were willing to do it, or if you were willing to partner with him, then I could see it as a viable option for Swiftly.
Kyle actually, I don't know him directly, but I do know of him. He works with PRC. Yes. Doing the food waste. We're currently working on a permit to be able to accept some food waste, so that would actually be a.
Well, I mean, for the
reason-
yard debris.
Right,
Yeah,
so what I'm saying is, there'll be another good way to reach out to Kyle, and maybe we could come up with an idea. The one thing we would have to figure out is, we would probably have to put a box out there, whether it's a 30 or 40 yard box, to collect the leaves, because I don't think Kyle has anything large enough to make sense for him to drive it all the way to reserve. Unless he could do it, because I know he has those box trucks.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of him loading up the box trucks, but I
So
don't
that-
know.
That may be possible.
Yeah,
And you're telling me that Waste Management is taking them to the landfill now.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So as long as we're all on the same page, that's where we know they're going. So technically, it's not getting recycled. They'll say they're using it as land cover, it's not.
it's not. gonna happen.
So we're trying to come up with an alternative. I also understand this Swiftly, the further I can get. It's a little bit difficult to get the reserve. But it is right down 65 across the stadium, show up on 28, and we're 2 minutes from 28. So it's not that bad for the public works. But with the fuel costs, I can understand.
I mean, I.
How
think-
long is the drive from Edgeworth to the reserve transfer station? How many minutes is it?
12 miles. 12 miles to my facility. You're maybe 13, 14.
I think it would be a hard sell.
lights
for
are-
our concept. Like,
And that's, that's why I kind of have the idea to get this off the ground. We have that recycling fund that's just sitting there. I thought this was sort of a noble endeavor. $2,100 out of 27,000. This is gonna keep growing, because we're gonna keep applying for these grants. If it turns out for 6 months, this was a dud. Okay, we spent $2,100 on a noble endeavor. If it blows up, people want to use it, it turns out that public works residents, they're dumping all sorts of good yard waste. Then we take a look at it, but I don't know.
We put it in a box, like where the glass is, we put in the yard waste into something like that. And it might be a little more for you to pick that up, but I think we would get more usage. If, I do agree that it should be closer.
We actually did discuss that. My concern is contamination. I don't want to go pick up a box of leaves and has two TVs in it.
Yeah,
It's no,
yeah. I
I'm
understand.
taking a chance of risking what our permits. Because we are regulated on what we're allowed to take care of.
Mhm.
And that's considered not.
We're not on.
Yes, yeah. So there's our permit way it is you're not allowed to accept waste and especially if you.
And just just to keep everyone up to speed, I did reach out with an impromptu, phone call with every one of our towns. Some got back, some didn't. But what people do with their yard waste, it's all over the map. Some people have a local cemetery, some people have a yard waste site, some people dump it down the hill, some people don't do anything. So it's all over the map, it's not consistent. And the whole goal of this is to offer something that is consistent.
Right,
If they use it, great. If not, what they're doing works. Keep on doing what works, but. I thought it was an interesting opportunity to offer every resident, just like we do now with the glass recycling, whether they use it or not, but every resident has access to it. To drop off the yard waste 300 days out of the year, basically. During normal business hours, and we have the ability to track. And they have the ability to verify with this tool we gave them. Again, this is a discussion we can continue, but I think it's something that we can build upon and really show what we can do as an organization of communities. And this is just the first step to see what we can take out.
One thing I can add is people that want to recycle actually will go drive the extra mile. I've had,
yeah,
we're at Reserve Township and we have our public drop off area. And I see people from Squirrel Hill dropping off glass. And you would think, okay, they saved it up. No, It's a box this big and they're dropping off glass.
Yeah,
So they just want to recycle that much. And I always make the joke, our public drop off on Saturday, and now it's open 24/7 like the other ones. I always laugh because that seems to be busier than our other transfer area. Just on Saturday. But everyone comes in, drops their balls, or cardboard and even scrap metals.
It couldn't hurt to give it a try. Like if it's just the cog, we're deciding to spend the money on it. Like I think it would be a really hard sell at the council level for me to try to get council members to vote to pay for that. But if we wanted to just do it to see if it would be successful, I would push it. I would really try to push it with this sort of thing. Just to see if we're getting traction.
well, I'm looking at the 6 months too. I mean, we're in the fall, which there's a lot of yard use. But then you're in the winter, where it may not be as much. But do we have to use the 6 month time frame, or is that something?
Suggestion.
Okay,
If we, I mean, it doesn't have to strictly be 6 months. That was kind of something we kind of agreed on when we were talking. Yeah,
okay.
we understand.
Yeah, I think our public, well, I'm going to use it for a while. I think selling to the council, I think a way to do this, probably come from you, is this is a recycling program with the glass and not separate them. Because it is the effort, right? Start doing as much as you can, hard to recycle things, and sell it like that. So if it goes from, what are you paying now? For the glass.
$60 a month, I think.
So what it maybe it goes to 80. It's not that hard to sell, it's just combined.
Yeah,
I think that was the big way to present it. If
Yeah.
it sticks.
And I think,
Yeah.
anything's a tough sell without
Look at the
data.
data first,
right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I think whatever I keep saying 6 months, but after a few months,
Yeah.
we're gonna start to have some data. Where we can look
Right.
at it and say,
revisit it.
Well,
And I
maybe-
think once you start going there, you know where it is and it
Right.
becomes.
Or maybe there are creative ways like to get it to public works, like where the public works truck will take one drive out once a week or something. And residents could dump it in the back of the public works truck or something so that they're not driving it themselves. I don't know.
I
There's,
would pay $2.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I mean, you can actually even sell it, depending on the public works, and there is grant money. They have, those leaf vacuums that'll basically grind it up. Now you have a whole trailer full of ground up leaves. For that to drive and it's, to reserve and get rid of it. You'd save the money because you wouldn't have to pay waste management, your council's already paying the public works. So instead of actually putting it in leaf bags, they can line it up along the curb
Mhm.
once a week. They can come by,
right.
vacuum it up, and they don't have to do every street depending on the size of the township.
We don't,
We do do that. Yeah. we
Yeah.
have a leaf truck.
yeah, we don't.
I wonder where they put, I thought they put them in the park.
so Donna
I
said,
think they do. They have a pile of stuff.
so this is.
John, I think.
So historically, Donna said residents utilize waste management for yard waste pickup. The borough uses the cemetery for dumping our yard waste.
Oh, that's. Cemetery. I didn't even know that.
Over the hill and the back.
That's fine.
Okay. Well, at this point in time, any more discussion on this from anybody? I could take a motion to begin a yard waste program. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Is there any? I don't know, John.
Oh, is there any discussion or? Any,
Yeah.
I guess not. Okay.
Is. So, approval of concurrent resolutions for the GDTF grants. So one of the steps we need to take for each grant resolution, I included a list of all 8 projects that we've been asked to apply for in advance of Friday. So, real quick summary. So, Lebanon Township's looking to do some stormwater improvements on Deer Run Road. See them out there. Bellevue Borough's looking to fix the retaining wall on North Jackson Avenue. Lee Township's looking to do some municipal complex improvements to expand access to the public for the buildings. Lee Township's also looking for some park improvements for a basketball and pickleball court area next to the municipal building. Lee Township's also looking for a salt storage improvement building grant. And then Lee Township's also looking for a stormwater project in Old Slippery Heights. And last but not least, Lee Township's looking to build upon their ADA parking or ADA sidewalk projects. Then we have Slippery Heights looking to do a parking lot reconstruction stormwater project for their public works facility. And then Slippery Heights is also looking to do a road reconstruction stormwater project in their borough park.
Great. Do we need individual or can we do this?
I just do it all once, then I'll have Barbara and I sign each grant
Okay.
as I process them.
Before us is, I missed. Okay. The GEDTF resolution approvals. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. I don't hear any nays, so that is passed.
I'm sorry, I have another question about the yard
Sure.
waste recycling.
Go ahead.
Could you repeat the hours? That you're open?
At 7 to 4:30,
Okay,
Tuesday through Friday. And then 7 to 12:30 on Saturday.
okay, and
And just so you're aware, we are open on Mondays, but we want this program to only go Tuesday through Saturdays.
okay,
Since Tuesday or Mondays are our regular transfer station hours, the busiest day, those hours are our busiest day. This would kind of open things up a little bit safer for residents who've never come to our locations
Yeah,
for those days. We obviously take safety to the extreme at our company, so
and we appreciate.
on Mondays, it's big trucks coming in there, day in, day out, with,
Okay.
what you say,
Sunday is very hefty.
160 people in now, so yeah, we want to make sure everybody's as safe as possible, so those were the best days for us, and we understand Saturdays is most likely gonna be busiest days for residents to be bringing their stuff in as well, so.
okay.
So do you have a flyer since we passed this that we can distribute to the?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have our marketing guy, get it all sent out,
Oh,
and then we'll have it ready for you guys.
so it'll start right away, like this is Lee.
Yeah.
Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to start. this week.
That was the one.
Yeah, I'll speak with Patrick on this, yeah, we'll get this out there as soon as we can.
Yeah, we'll-
Yeah, we want to get this going as quickly as possible.
So I can like put it up on the Swiftly Facebook page.
Yeah.
Okay.
we're about,
If you want.
we'll wait for a flyer, just to
Yeah.
make sure.
We'll wait for a flyer. Yeah, if you wanted
Just to make sure.
Yeah,
Or
everything
not.
is right, yes,
Yeah.
do it with the flyer, if we can get that as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I have one more question. Is there like clear signage or do we have to give any kind of direction of what they do once they get there? Or will it be obvious?
It's usually pretty obvious.
Okay,
The scales are right there.
So, what I'll do is out to the group. My email's not receiving anything, but I've even tried to text message, I don't know, I'm feeding up there without emailing to myself. But I'll send a picture of the site with the drone capture. So you guys get an idea of it, but I think maybe the flyer, we're gonna accompany it with the photo.
Right.
There's a way station, I took a tour of the facility with them a couple weeks back. They have to, it's like channeled where they have to cross the way station. And at that point, the person at the way station is gonna tell them, you know, orange cones or whatever, nothing over there.
We'll have the flyer and then also have our marketing guy, get another picture as well, kind of with directions and arrows onto it, onto our property.
But the signage is pretty good.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of off, and then we actually have a staging area. Because we might take green waste here, dirt over here, concrete over here. So we do have somebody there stationed to help direct traffic.
Okay,
Something we didn't talk about with concrete. Be something you guys accept.
Correct.
So we can throw that in the do's and don'ts too,
yeah,
because I always have.
does that include like gravel?
No, it would actually have to be chunks of concrete.
Okay,
And it would have to be clean for this program.
Okay.
So that doesn't, not to bring a mixed load of dirt and concrete. that would require a lot more processing on our end.
Mhm.
So if it was just straight concrete or just straight dirt, we could do that.
That's an interesting little tidbit that I didn't even
Yeah.
think about. Yeah, a lot of people rip up sidewalks and what are you gonna do with it now?
Right,
There's a menu for it.
Yeah, or
Goes over
people,
the
and people
hill.
can take dirt.
Yes.
You can take dirt, okay. In waste management, we have the hardest time getting rid of dirt when we like made
Yeah.
a garden.
The biggest thing I
Took out grass and
want to
dirt
add is just make sure it's not contaminated. So we do inspect
with
that.
grubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Or
Okay.
pop bottles or.
yeah, yeah.
That's the biggest thing that we have is to worry about is contamination. One, it creates extra work, and two, the whole idea is for the recycling it, so we want it to be as clean as possible.
right,
Right,
thank you.
thank you.
One quick thing I wanted to highlight with the resolutions we just passed. So every grant application, the COG charges a $500 fee. And if awarded, there's a 2% utilization fee that gets tacked onto there. So that's how we keep our machine rolling here and, provide all the back end work for the applicants. So it's all not for nothing. if you will. So,
Okay. On to waste and recycling contract, cost of fuel adjustment.
So yeah, one of the things in our new contract is every year during September, and I think this is to help people budget for the next year. We are asked to file a fuel cost adjustment. Annually, so there's a big long calculation, but more or less, it breaks down to 12 cents. It's gonna be added to each household per month for next year, beginning in January. That could obviously change for the better next year with the prices being a lot higher. Last year's average cost for diesel fuel was a tick below $3. This year's was $4.77. So, when times are good, we get to see that shared savings. When times are bad, we all share the cost, the additional cost. So the calculation is based on the street miles for all of our towns, all the households, the increased cost, and then basically you just divide it all in one. It compiles down to 12 cents per unit per month. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. Waste management has this information as well. So January next year, whatever your household or your residents pay, you're going to see a 12-cent increase.
Any questions or discussion? Okay. Moving on to the letter of support.
So over the last 3 or 4 weeks, there's been 3 overturned tractor trailers on River Road and Red Gate Road. It seems to be a correlation that I assume they're coming from the Amazon warehouse or in that vicinity. They're not.
Yeah,
None of them are.
None of them.
They make sure they all turn left, they gotta find it.
not all of them do. but
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But that's not what this was.
So, Amy Path, the delegate for Hayesville's brought us into these discussions, brought Aleppo Township into these discussions as well. And more or less it boils down to PennDOT is looking for letters of support requesting a more in-depth analysis for 4 roads, including Red Gate, Merriman, River, and Deer Run. So this would be really sort of come down to the enforceability too. And they want to bring in all police departments that are impacted by this, because the signs only go as far as the enforcement, right? So what I've proposed here is, I know Aleppo has already written a letter of support. I believe Hayesville is in the process of it, and just to throw our support behind it too. I'll put together a letter and have Barbara sign off on it and send it over to PennDOT District 11 too. But Art, do you want to kind of highlight some of this?
Yeah. We had one discussion on this, and I was also surprised. I thought that there'd be Amazon drivers, Amazon drivers, well, no, they weren't. When these were seasoned truck drivers. One guy was local. And our chief asked him, what do you do that for? You know better. It's not a GPS. He said, well, my GPS that I can make. And chief says, I told him, you still know better. He said, I thought I could make it. He made it down 3/4 of the way, and that was bad. 3 days later, here comes another one. I'm going, what the hell?
Yeah.
Who bit John? So we're number one, we're immediately putting our township. Offices have property that faces on Dearborn Road. And it goes, people don't know, but just strip of it goes toward Redgate. So we're going to put signage there. Because has a much longer sight line for people coming up Redgate. So we're taking that action. Let's see what happens, keep our fingers crossed. We're going to be sitting down with PennDOT shortly with ourselves and other people. But this has been something that's been crawling everybody's for a long, long time. And I think the arrival of Amazon sort of like, see, we told you so. That thing. We have not had that kind of issues. They were throwing trash out. So we told Amazon, and Amazon picked it up themselves. They've been very, very cooperative. So they're not the problem. It's people who are saying, I think I can make it.
It was amazing, you know, you see one email, I got the photos, and then 3 or 4 days later, another one, and 11 days
Yeah.
later, another one.
Yeah.
You know, these aren't small trucks, these are full-scale tractor trailers that are overturning on a small road, so.
It's really very fortunate that he turned the truck over where he did, because it was
Yeah.
intentionally turned over. But when you're coming down the steepest part of the hill, right before the middle of the concrete bridge, which is about that way. There's a beautiful yellow framed house. People had taken that house out. There's no place else to go.
Yeah.
So
That's
he
scary.
sacrificed his truck.
Is there any thought to reach out? I know truck GPS is generally different than the freely available
Yeah.
consumer GPS system. Is there any thought to reach out to those operators of those companies and say this is a road that trucks should not be routed down?
I think that's a great idea, and then.
Because you can reach out to like Google and Bing and
Yeah.
all these other
Yeah.
commercial grade, or not commercial, like consumer grade ones. It's like this, you should not go down here because of this.
And there is a defined process for that, and Glenn, our manager, has had discussions with those people, 2 changes. Within a level. So, but you have to be patient with them, but they do follow through and they do take action.
That's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had trucks from house come on, which anybody who starts down some direction.
And
They said that the GPS, they were following the GPS also, and they were commercial trucks. And they maintained they had to follow the GPS. Like, you know, they're told no matter what,
Yeah.
follow the GPS. Yeah,
So they're between a rock and a hard place.
they are, and we did contact the trucking company that was sending them down.
Yeah.
And they did change that, but it was a process.
It's a long process.
It sure is.
So, but thank God for small favors over there, that was a bust up truck.
But nobody's made, I can't see that I can make that turn across the bridge
Oh,
on the river road. Are they gonna do anything about going up the road? Have you had them go up the road?
Well, we already have, Amazon is not allowed to use the road under any condition unless they're delivering packages on that road.
Okay,
So that's pretty minor occurrences, compared to what it could be.
I mean, just at the bottom is Haynesville, so I'm wondering if there's a truck limit or something at the bottom.
I don't know. I'll have to take a look, but I use that a lot.
Okay. I was just
I'll think
wondering.
of that. I'll think of
Yeah.
that all right. I don't recall. I mean, number one, it's very narrow
Oh, I know.
and not very long.
But
Anybody
it's
with,
right on the.
anybody with a 2-iron can put it out on River Boulevard.
Yeah,
So, I don't know, but it's been a long issue. Fortunately, you know, PennDOT about 10 years ago came. When I moved here, the directions that I was given to get to Masonic Village, well, up Redwood. Yeah. It was not really paved, it had no side roads. And it was about wide, just as wide as my car, and I said, oh my God, surely there must be some other way up there. So. all of that-
Yes, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Good,
Thank you so much.
job.
So is there any other discussion on the letter of support?
The only thing is, whenever they have a date set for the meeting, I'll start letting everybody know, and if anyone would like to attend,
Yes, I think Glenn Osborne would like to attend. We'd be downtown with the light. So please let us know. Okay. I think I'll take a motion for the letter of support request from Hayesville and Rafael, and I think Glenn Osborne was also included in it. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, you have it. Hey, old business. Hey, on to concerns of delegates. If you want to go through the list and see municipalities.
Yeah.
and Concerns.
all right, what's new in the leftover besides the tractor trailers?
I only get involved in big stuff, you know? I'll give everybody an update on what we have been discussing. The, at the bottom of, Redgate, there's a situation where the trains will stop, blocking the access into going across the highway. There's nothing you can do about it. In fact, it's their runaway, their right of way. But it's something that has nagged at everyone. I have a copy of several letters, thank you, that have been written by various municipalities in and about the area. No one has ever received an answer. This is over a long period of time. So, when I lived in Boston, I've just been back here for 10 years. I was born and raised here, but I left. I'm a boomeranger. Anywho, while I was active in business in the Boston area, there was a circumstance where they had a similar thing, was a short line that was blocking access to buildings and emergency vehicles for the night and so on. So on. And they had gone through the same thing, write the letters, have meetings, and so nothing. Zip. So they contacted the chief financial officer of the river and told him what the circumstances were. And of course, he never heard anything about it. Well, he's not within 10 miles of operations, but he certainly reacted to it. And within 2 weeks, the complete change in the guidelines for that short period of railing. And as far as I know, still to this day, they are not able to cause blocking there. So.
So the issue that the trains are stopped there?
Yeah.
They stop there.
Yeah,
There's not-
they come out of Conway, and these are trains now that are 150 cars. And they're doing 50 miles an hour, because I've tracked them, 50 miles an hour is what they've done next year. You come up to the Redgate Riverway, it is actually, and just about 300 yards further toward Pittsburgh are the signals for them to either proceed into this next sector or stop. So if they stop there, they cannot move until those signals change. Okay, so you're in a deadlock. No one really knows, so to speak. So I said, well, if it worked once in Boston, maybe it will work in Pittsburgh. And I contacted who was there? It's like you wouldn't know.
Amy.
Yeah, right. Maybe it wasn't. And I suggested that we use the same tactic. I didn't know what I was really talking about or getting involved in. But that railroad there is is the railroad company is the third largest railroad company in the United States. 40,000 employees. Well, yeah. So I went onto their website and I said, I just said, before we go off, I better find out what the hell it's the makeup of this company. So I really ripped their site apart, and they have an enormous amount of information on there. Basically, all their operational policies are listed on there, so you don't have to go in and say you can't do this or can you do this. Look on your website; it'll tell you whether you can or cannot. So that was helpful in the fact that it just wiped out a whole bunch of things that I might have considered using in contacting them, but I know I'm going to get a no, right? So as I continued to do this work, I started finding out what's going on inside the company, and for reasons totally unknown to me, this June, they changed the top 3 officers in the company. The top lawyer, the top VP of finance, and the personnel manager all changed jobs at the same time. So I'm assuming they probably got team or something like that. I'm taking that as a maybe that's really good, because the new VP of finance and legal, I have to learn how to pronounce her name. It's a pretty lady, but her last name is Hay. H-A-G. I don't know. How do you talk that? That'll slip out. Anyway, going forward, I'm hoping that perhaps with new people being there, we will have people who are not quite so staunchly embedded. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But right now, it's just been, I've been digging and digging and digging, and I'm not trying to even make any headway because I'm afraid that I shut myself down.
Well, there is a vehicle code that says that no train should block a roadway longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I don't know who has to stop what.
Well, I don't know
The
if
only
you can
person-
enforce it, because I've asked the train to move.
The only person who would have that is the logistics director.
Yeah.
Who is located in Conway.
Right.
He's also in charge of customer service.
Huh?
Okay,
I think it's fine.
yeah, so,
How often does that happen?
Amy's keeping track of it, better track of it, but it happens maybe 2 or 3 times a month. But it does not last as long as some of them. I mean, this particular train was from 3 a.m. to, I think, 1 or 2 for about 12 hours. We stood there. So people who were at work couldn't get home, those who couldn't get out, because that was their only way to get in and out.
kids getting at school,
Plus, there's
nurses to track.
So has your solicitor reached out to them?
Sorry, me?
Did your solicitor reach out? Yeah, it's there.
I do not send lawyers into a fight like this. You're talking about operational.
It might be worth calling the Quaker Valley Ambulance Authority, getting them to write a letter, Allegheny County Emergency Services at the county level, so you can't block these roadways for this amount of time.
It's there right away.
I understand, but they would have to answer to emergency services. Almost everybody does. Like Valerie Gatos.
So we did.
Robinson,
Yeah, we did.
I get the emergency services involved, even if they just sign a letter, tell them what's going on. JR and that.
Well, we may end up doing that.
We'll do that.
Yeah,
Right
Matt
now,
Brown, chief of emergency services. in the
yeah,
county,
we would do it.
will sign off on that.
what I'm attempting to do right now is to make sure that we approach them in the most positive way with strength and us. And get them to understand that they've got a really serious issue on their hands. Should an accident happen in a child killed.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. So there's got to be some openings in the policies that we can go in and say. This doesn't stop you, and maybe it will enhance both of our position there.
Or if there's legal precedents that said they can't block an intersection from more than 5 minutes, then they have a legal issue, then it can be resolved very quickly. again, I see the issue, but if we're not gonna go through legal channel, which is, it seems.
I didn't say we're not going to.
Like you said, you're
I don't
approaching
want-
it from an operations perspective.
Okay.
No, I'm just trying,
We haven't yet,
yeah, I
but
think,
I do think I did let the police know and I let Amy know, and I think I sent an email to you
Yeah,
about
you
that
did.
one too.
Yeah.
But that is a state vehicle code law for Pennsylvania, but you're right. The railroad operates as their own nation,
They do, absolutely.
but you're right, that could be helpful too.
I
if we
would
don't
go
get-
legal. I mean, that's like saying we have a right of way on a borough road, we can park a truck there 24 hours a day. It's blocked.
Right, I had the train go off and I had a heart attack across the road and the ambulance couldn't get there.
Yeah,
And the
that's
police couldn't get them.
issue.
I'm not saying sue them, I'm saying from the legal perspective.
Yeah.
Better-
But we do
do some
have.
research, is there case files on this type of thing? And there's, and how else this other solution?
Well, that's what I'm hoping that with the new turn of senior management, we may.
Well, you can continue to dig and we'll,
I'm just about dug out, but in any case,
but maybe, well,
Uh,
maybe it's time to contact somebody.
yeah.
And if they don't respond, we go with it. But I,
Well, like you said, not legal in the legal sense.
no.
just-
Yeah.
Okay, this is an issue, it seems like there's precedent.
Yeah,
This is the problem, is there, we resolve this? And
Yeah.
the past we take.
Yeah, I-
Can resolve, but.
Yeah.
Just waiting for them to say yes or no. Just please, I don't know if that's gonna get you. Even with.
All right,
Okay,
Roberta, what's new in Avalon? I'm not sure if you hear us. We'll move on for now, come back to Roberta. So, Carmi, what's happening in Bell Acres? Oh, there's Roberta. Roberta, can you hear us? There you go, Carmi, you're up. What's new in Bell Acres?
I don't really have anything to report. We, the chief police had gone over your intermunicipality police agreement. And I believe it was going through our solicitor. Everyone was happy with the glass recycling program. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, just real quick for everybody, we have approvals from 6 of the 8 participating police departments and municipalities. The other 2 just haven't had meetings yet, so looks like we'll have unanimous approval there. And once the copy is signed by everybody, I'll make sure we have like a master copy, I'll copy and send out to all the departments.
thank you.
Thanks, Carly. So John had to leave early, so he's not here. So, Barbara, you're up.
Glenn Osborne at this point in time is doing fine. So we don't have to.
Dan, anything in Bellevue?
No, we're just running a status quo here. We did this, same thing. We went over the police agreement, mutual aid thing. Everything looked good there. I'm a council person, Miller and myself, we're getting ready to kick off a Bellevue Borough Talks little survey thing to get a vibe from residents of, what they want to see, how they feel, the borough is moving forward, moving backward. We're going to kick that off tomorrow, we hope, and then hold a few meet and greet sessions over the next couple weeks just to get some face-to-face with the residents of the community.
Great. All right, Julie, you're up.
Nothing to report.
And then last but not least, Nate.
Nothing that I don't think we've talked about at this point.
All right, guys.
Can I add a nothing to speak?
Oh, good. I'm so sorry.
As a couple of things, one, we had our second newsletter of the year, we sent to all of our residents, paper newsletter, we had excellent feedback on this different program we're having, lead collection, all the different things for the newsletter, so it's been very effective tool for us to communicate to the residents. We have our fall festival this weekend out on Main Drag, that's a big event every year, and then our annual program starts next week. It's supposed to be done by the end of the week, it's the contract, but so like 4 weeks will be having maybe, but that's for us.
Right on.
Okay.
All right, well, I hope to see everybody at the annual dinner in a few weeks. Next month's gonna be, our budget meeting. That's
Yeah.
true, we didn't do that yet. Could, does anyone want to be on the budget committee? With me, we'll just meet like we did last year. It was pretty informal. I got together on Zoom, talked about, where our finances are and where our projections are for next year for 30-45 minutes. And then, that's pretty much it. It's pretty low key. Thanks, Charlie. Anybody else? Thanks, Rick.
I volunteered for going. I'm not a resident of the cog, but.
Works for me.
You're on then.
Thank you, Barbara and Rick. I'll send an email to you guys. We'll hop on a Zoom.
Okay.
It'll be rolling.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Second.
we're, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you, everybody on
Thank
Zoom.
you.
We will see you guys next month.